for today's meeting. As a heads up, we are now going live on YouTube. Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Hefner, and I'm the Measure 110 Strategy and Engagement Manager with the Oregon Health Authority. I will be assisting with facilitating today's meeting. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments or get on our interested parties email list by emailing ohja.measure110@dhsohja.state.or.us. That email address and more information about the council can be found on the Measure 110 OAC website. OAC members have asked that OHA and other staff who are present in the meeting space introduce themselves in the chat. Please share your role with the agency, and if you are a subject matter expert or area of expertise. I will now hand it over to Sydney to take attendance.
Hey, we're actually a little out of order. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure we're.
I know you were having technical difficulties, and we are
Yes,
still
I'm
letting
sorry.
people. Nope, you're good. So I'll just hand it over to Melinda if you'd like to make some opening remarks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody's Wednesday is going well. For the opening remarks, we have Jessica's departure.
Jessica, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am announcing today that I have taken a rotation over to Medicaid for at least the next 4 months. And so this will be my last meeting with you all, at least for a while. I'm gonna try not to cry right now because we've been through so much together. And I just appreciate all of the hard work and the advocacy and the heart and everything that you all bring every day to your communities, to this council, to the people. You are amazing, and you are doing something that's never been done in a way it's never been done before. And these last couple of years has been hard and fantastic, and we've laughed and we've cried and we've screamed and we've yelled, and we've been through it all. But I just appreciate you all immensely. You're amazing human beings, and I know we will see each other around.
So I have a question. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Will we see you May 17th?
So I will, are you talking about the in-person?
Yes.
I will see what I can do. I have a new schedule and new meetings and stuff, but I will see if I can swing that, Melinda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whose hand was up first. I'm just going to go in order of my boxes. But Seb.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and veto your plan, Jessica. You shall remain here. I'm just kidding, but I just want to say thank you so much for everything you've done. Not many, I mean, some people know, but not many. Most don't know how hard you've worked and how many hours you've put in, you and your team. Sacrificed so much for this, and I just want to say thank you. And this isn't the end for sure. We'll see you around, absolutely. But I'm very happy for you, and I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you.
So apparently I'm not logged into the right Zoom, so I'm trying to log in now because I can't see everybody.
No worries. Ron, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, hi. Jessica, you will definitely be missed. We're going to miss the heart and the passion and compassion and dedication and spirit that you brought to this work. You're the first staff person that really appeared to fight for us, and I personally really appreciate that. You're a very important and valued and critical part of moving this forward from the beginning. And I really appreciate all of the great conversations we had and the great leadership that you provided. And you will definitely be missed. And I will definitely look forward to our next interactions. I know you're going to go on and do great and wonderful things in your next adventures. But I just personally wanted to thank you for your hard work, your presence, your heart, your passion that you brought to this.
Thanks, Ron. Caroline.
So Jessica, yeah, ditto to everything that's been said, but you have to be there on May 17th. You have to make it work out because that's the Indian way. And so you better be there. But I do too appreciate, I know this whole journey has been a challenge. And you were there a good portion of that time with us. So, but make sure you're there on the 17th or I'll come find you and drag you there. Okay, later.
Thanks, Caroline. Anisha.
Yes, I agree with Miss Caroline. I want to see you on the 17th, if possible. I'm really, 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 really gonna miss you. And I appreciate everything you have done for all of us. And all of the work that you put in here will live on now that you're moving on. And wherever you're going, I just hope that they know what a gem they're receiving. And I wish you nothing but happiness. And I definitely will see you in other spaces because you mean a lot to me. And thank you for everything you've done for all of us.
Thanks, Anisha. Sabrina.
Yeah, I just want to say to Jessica, I spent many hours with you, many hours as tri-chair behind closed doors, and it wasn't always pretty. We didn't agree on some things sometimes, but I want to speak to the humanist component of this. All of the weight, right? All of us as a council have experienced a lot of pressure and a lot of learning curves and standing something up that was historical, right? No pressure at all, right? And then all these different personalities and timelines and being in the newspapers and scrutiny and all of this stuff. And then you still try to come up and show your put your best foot forward, you know, for us as council members. So I just want to speak to that heavy lifting all on its own. And I wish you the best wherever you go.
Thanks, Sabrina. Carlos.
Thank you for all of the work that you've been a part of. I don't want to say I'm a crier, but I think I am. I'm sure that we will see each other in different spaces. I appreciate all of the work that you've been a part of. This is definitely not one of those easy jobs to have. And I appreciate, you know, just everything you've done for, well, all of your work. Thank you. You'll be missed greatly.
Thanks, Carlos. And Jackie.
All right, you guys are amazing, and everything everyone said, Jessica, just so speaks to who you are, your commitment, your passion, your skills, and I just echo everything. And I'm really grateful to to know you and to watch your growth, and as well as to be part of history here with you and everybody. And that's an awesome thing. So thank you. And I'm sure I'll see you on the 17th because you don't want to make Caroline upset.
No, nobody wants that. Thanks, Jackie. Amy.
Okay, we're saying our goodbyes to Jessica, huh? I just,
Or see you later. Not goodbye. See you
yeah, our
later.
see you laters. Yes, our see you laters. Absolutely. Thank you for that. You know, I've had a tremendous amount of support from you, both just for counsel and for encouragement to keep going when things got tough. And you are going to be sorely missed. I know I have your work number, so I can still annoy you, but I don't know if Kristen's going to be able to handle me. So you'll have to give her the 411. Okay. Jessica, you have been, you've been a rock, and it's you've been consistent, and that's what we need is consistency, right? And so, thank you for that, and thank you for your patience and your kindness. It takes tough people to do this job, and I'm really honored to be a part of this. This whole process has been just phenomenal, and I want to thank you for being the human being that you are.
Thanks, Amy.
Well, everyone, thank you for your very kind words. And both spoken and in the chat, I read them all. Again, I appreciate you. I leave you in incredibly capable hands. Kristen Donhefner is going to be taking on my role, and she is as fierce of an advocate as I am. And she cares about this work just as much as I do, and I could not have done this without her, without Sydney McConnell, without Carly, without Jess and Kathy, and this entire team is working toward making your vision a reality. And so I appreciate you all. I am going to put it out there that I'm going to do my best to be there on the 17th so I don't get in trouble with Caroline, because that is definitely not something I want to do. I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a great meeting and a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. We have a new member. New member introduction. Jonathan Duncan is our newest member for harm reduction. Jonathan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jonathan Duncan. Use he, him pronouns. Not sure how far these introductions go, but I live in Eugene. Harm reductionist for a while, user for a while before that. Big advocate for all harm reduction things, and most recently focusing on compassionate overdose responses and trainings around that.
Thank you, Jonathan. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Okay, so now looks like we need to call for the agenda. Is that Sydney?
You call it, Melinda.
Oh,
You got this.
okay. Amy?
Oh, not the agenda, not the attendance, the agenda. You call the agenda.
Oh, the agenda. Sorry, guys.
I mean, you can call attendance too if you want. That's fine.
Okay, so for the agenda today, we have grant extensions with ADAPT. We have the NTE corrections. We have the phone line contractor presentation. We have a rules presentation, an opioid settlement update, and OHA updates today. Now
Okay.
it's time for Sydney to do the attendance.
Yeah, now I can do the attendance. Hello, everybody. It's really good to see everyone. I apologize for my technical inabilities earlier, but I'm glad to see everybody. When I call your name, if you could please stay here for the record. Amy?
Here.
Hi, Amy. Carlos? Oh, Carlos, you're on mute.
I'm here.
Hi,
Thank you.
Carlos. No problem. Caroline?
Here.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi.
Dharma?
Here.
Hi, Dharma. Hubert? Don't see Hubert yet. I'll come back. Hunter?
Here.
Hi, Hunter.
Hello.
Jackie? Mercer? Oh, did we lose Jackie? I'll come back to Jackie. Jonathan, welcome.
Here.
Hello. Keisha?
Here.
Hey, Keisha. Leticia?
I'm here.
Hey, Leticia. Linda?
Here.
Hi, Linda. Melinda?
Here.
Hi, Melinda. Meredith?
Here.
Hey, Meredith. Morgan?
Here.
Hey, Morgan. Nicole? I will come back for Nicole. Onisha?
Here.
Hi, Onisha. Ron?
Ron's here.
Hey, Ron. Ryan?
Here.
Hi, Ryan. Sabrina?
I'm here.
Hi, Sabrina. Zeb?
I'm here.
Hello, Zeb. Sam Byers?
I'm here.
Hi, Sam. Annalise?
Here.
Hi, Annalise. And I'm just gonna go back and see Hubert. I do not see. Jackie, are you there?
She's multitasking. She is
Yeah.
actually here, but she's on another call, but she is here.
That's okay. I see her. I'll wait. When I see her again, I'll mark
Okay.
her present.
Okay.
And Nicole, I don't think has joined, but I'll watch for those three. We have 21 present. Back to you, Melinda.
Okay, the grant extensions for ADAPT, Kristen?
Thanks, Melinda. Hi, everyone. We are going to be having a vote on the final grant extension. And this involves ADAPT in 4 counties: Coos, Curry, Douglas, and Josephine counties. So we are going to call for conflicts. As a reminder, OAC members with an actual conflict of interest cannot participate in discussions on the matter that presents the conflict. If you announce a potential conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict, but you can participate in the discussion and vote. And if you announce an actual conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict and refrain from participating in the discussion, and please turn your camera off. Please raise your hand if you have a conflict of interest with ADAPT in any of their counties. Okay, seeing none. As a reminder, it's been a while since we actually voted on a grant extension amount. The council voted at the end of March to extend ADAPT's grant agreements through April 2024 and authorized OHA to enter negotiations for an extension through June of 2025. Just like all previous Measure 110 partners, ADAPT was asked to submit a grant extension budget request. They could not request capital funding for real property or vehicles. They were asked to calculate their spending and any carryover funds. And essentially, they were asked to tell us what they would need to maintain Measure 110 services through June 2025. We then validated that request to ensure their budget ask was clear, to ensure they didn't cut any services, and to ensure their budget was in alignment with their approved scope of work. Just as with all of the previous Measure 110 partners, ADAPT was asked to certify that budget request, verifying their carryover spending and their budget ask was correct, and affirm that any unspent grant funds at the end of June 2025 would be returned. We also verified that they were continued to be in substantial compliance with the terms of their grant. They have current registration with the Oregon Secretary of State's office. They have submitted certificates of insurance and their policies and procedures. They did not have any outstanding items to cure. And this is the final extension request that is being brought before you all to vote on. So here you see the new 36-month NTE, or not to exceed, total grant amount for ADAPT in each County, Coos, Curry, Douglas, and Josephine. This represents what they will receive from July 2022 through June 2025. So the full 36 months or 3 years of their grant. Here we have a proposed motion, but I will pause now to see if there are any questions or discussion.
Can you go back to the previous slide? So I'm making sure I understand the total 36 months. So we had their initial grants from 21-23. Biennium, they were awarded a set amount. And then so I'm trying to understand it, because I'm trying to get clear in my mind on how much we're spending overall for the 23-25 biennium, which includes the carryover plus what's appropriated by the legislature from cannabis revenue. And go ahead, Chris.
Please finish your question.
Okay, so the way that you just stated it is that there was so our initial grant period of from when we started making grants in 2022 through the end of 2023 essentially is one period. And now we're entering the second period, which is 18-month period starting January of 24 through June of 25. And so my question about this total is how much of this total 36-month not to exceed total is only the 18 months from January of 24 until June of 25.
We would have to follow up with you on that number. We have it, but we have presented all of the previous grant extensions as one 36-month. So that's how we kept this one, but we can absolutely get that to you.
Right, because when I was looking through the chart, I was looking for kind of a summary of how much, because we know what we spent in the first biennium was $265, with $65 going to capital costs and about $200 going to services. And so then we were told by the Office of Fiscal Management, or the Office of Economic Analysis and the Health System Division, initially that we would have about 150 million for the next biennium. We received the savings from law enforcement savings of about 40 million, so it pushed it up to like 190. And so I'm trying to crack apart the 190 from the carryover so I can see how much of the 23-25 biennium, how much of that we're actually spending.
So I think when you total up all of the grant extensions for 24 and 25, they equal a little over 150 million.
Right,
So they're coming pretty close to kind of what was available. I think the overall financial forecast was reduced again. So I think that 190 number is a little bit less. And we're expecting another financial forecast update at the end of May. So I think I would have to get you the total number of what's available, but I know the total of money that has been allocated just to grants is a little over 150 million.
Okay. That's what's allocated, plus the carryovers?
That is exclusive of carryover.
Okay, so the 150 does not include carryover.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see those numbers printed out.
I think we're hoping to have a financial update for you all along with the when that new forecast comes out as part of a bigger conversation about the next RFGA and how much money will be available kind of in 2025. So I think we're planning on having a more detailed breakdown of all of that. And I think by then we'll also have kind of actual spend throughs that a little bit more accurately kind of reflect the carryover and what's truly available.
Thank you. I just think it's important that we, be clear about the money.
Absolutely. Good question.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to approve adapts for the counties and dollar amounts listed on slide 6 through June 30th of 2025.
Second.
Sounds like we got a motion and a second. So Sydney, would you like to call the vote?
About that. Let's see. That was Meredith and Dharma, right? Thank
Yes.
you. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Carlos,
Yes.
Caroline,
Yes.
Dharma,
Yes.
thank you. Hubert does not look like Hubert's joined yet. Hunter,
Yes.
Jackie, would you like to vote? Not sure if she's come back yet. Oh, I think she left. Sorry about that. Jonathan,
Yes.
Ja? Keisha, would you like to vote? I'll come back to Keisha. Leticia,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Melinda,
Yes.
Meredith,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Nicole has not joined. Onisha, Onisha. Okay, I see Keisha's yes vote in the chat. I'll come back to Onisha. Ron,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Zeb.
Yes.
All right, and then going back to Onisha. Oh, Onisha voted yes in the chat. And then just double checking Hubert, not here. Jackie Mercer, I see you came back. Would you like to vote?
Yes, please. I mean,
Okay.
and yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And then Nicole also is not here. That passes with 18 yes votes. And back to you, Melinda.
Okay, the next on the agenda is the NET corrections. Do you have that, Kirsten or Carly?
Sure do. Thanks, Melinda. All right, so we have a few more NTE corrections for the extension period. So we have two, we're going to be discussing two of those, one for Family Tree Relief Nursery and one for Columbia Community Mental Health. And I don't believe either of these are in Multnomah County, so please disregard that. But
I can tell you it's Project Patchwork
Oh.
and
Oh,
Miracles Club.
It's neither of these.
They're both in Multnomah County. Yes, I'm so sorry. As you all know, Jess is out this week and she sent me the list and we did it in a scramble. So I very much apologize. I will get that fixed. If we go to the next slide, I'll make sure the rest of them are good. Sorry
Thanks,
about that.
Sydney. And nope, no worries. So we're talking about Project Patchwork and the Miracles Club, both in Multnomah County. As a reminder, if you announce a potential conflict of interest, you must announce the nature, but you can participate in the discussion and vote. And if you announce an actual conflict of interest, you must announce the nature and refrain from participating in the discussion. Keisha.
I have a conflict.
Thank you, Anisha. For
Yeah,
both organizations or just Miracles?
Just Miracles. I work there.
Thank you.
I have an actual conflict. The Miracle Club. Employed there.
Thank you, Keisha. And Shannon?
Yeah. Hi, Kristen. Shannon O'Fallon, Oregon DOJ. Can we just make sure that people say whether or not it's a potential or actual conflict? So Onisha, if you could clarify.
Actual.
Thanks, Anisha. I don't see any other hands. So both of you already have your cameras off. Thank you.
Looks like
Um,
Keisha's hand is up.
Yeah, Keisha, I think you had already announced your actual conflict of interest, so you can lower your hand. Okay, so due to a formulaic error in Excel, as a reminder, several of the not to exceed amounts for the full 36 months were published and approved with clerical errors. These are OHA errors, not errors on behalf of the grantees. Our internet Excel gremlins were acting up. So these not to exceed revisions will not change any of the services provided by affected partners. And this mistake is on OHA. So we're trying to correct them. Here we have the right organization, the no worries, Sydney. Typos happen. And so here you see what was previously approved as the not to exceed and the corrected amount. Again, really, really sorry for the confusion and the error on our part. Next slide. Oh, and here is a suggested motion. So I will pause and see if there are any questions or discussion.
This is Ron. I move to approve the NTE corrections of the organizations and dollar amounts listed on slide 5.
I'll second.
Is that Meredith?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Sydney.
Thank you.
Someone could
So done as written and seconded. Amy, would you like to vote? I'll come back to Amy. Carlos,
Yes.
Caroline,
Yes.
Dharma,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Jackie, oh, I'll come back to Jackie. Jonathan,
Yes.
Keisha. I'm sorry, Keisha has an actual conflict. I apologize. Leticia,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Melinda,
Yes.
Meredith,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Nicole. Still don't see Nicole. Let me gray her out. Onisha has a stated conflict. Ron,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
and Zeb.
Yes.
All right, and then go back to Amy. Would you like to vote?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, vote. Okay. And Hubert, conflict. Okay, we're good. That passes with.
Yeah, Jackie wrote
Good.
in the chat.
Yes, I see. That just popped up as I looked, and I've got Jackie down, so that passes with 16. Back to you, Melinda.
Thank you, Sydney. The next up on the agenda is our phone line contractor presentations.
Thank you. And we are just admitting all of our folks from phone line. So give them a minute to connect to audio. Hi, Jen. Hi, HRIA folks. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. We are ready to hear your updates. So we will pull up your slides and you can introduce yourself and get started whenever you're ready.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah. I'm the project manager for what is now called our Oregon Hope Line. We were the formerly, a lot formerly ago, the addiction, telephone addiction recovery center. And then we kind of had a soft launch into telephone addiction recovery hotline. And now we're the Oregon Hope Line, which we're excited to share with you all. So some of you haven't met me before, but yeah, like I said, I'm Sarah. I've worked in the behavioral health field for 15 years, and I've been in the hotline sector for about 7. So it's good to meet you all, and I'll do brief introductions for the rest of my team as well. Casey, if you want to hop in.
I'm Casey Friend, and I am the Outreach and Engagement Associate.
You can go next. My name is Kit Spee. I use the she, her pronouns, and I am the Senior Communications Associate here at HRAA.
I'll hop in next. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you all. I'm Kira Robbins. I use the she, her pronouns, and I'm a communication associate at HRAA as well.
Hi, everyone. Good to see many of you again and meet some of you for the first time. My name is Jen Siren. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Managing Director of Behavioral Health at HRIA. I oversee and support all of our helpline work.
All right, thanks, everybody. I think that's everyone. So we're ready to start the presentation. So briefly looking at the agenda, we just did the introductions. Today we'll be discussing some of our new branding changes, reminding you all what the Oregon Hope Line is currently doing and some of the progress that we made. We'll go over briefly some hiring updates and then also some next steps for our Hope Line. And so, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about who we are.
So we are Health Resources in Action, or HRIA. There's a lot packed into this slide here, but we just wanted to give you all a sense of our vision for the work that we do, which is healthy people.
Can I slow you down just for a second?
Sure.
This is Ron Williams, a council member. I just wanted to kind of get an overview of the timeline, like when you started, what your, like, you know, how long you've been operating, or have you already started the process? You know, like you signed the contract, you started performing, and now you're able to give an update. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so good to meet you, Ron. Yeah, so we have currently been using this hotline ever since December 8th is when we took it over from Lines for Life, and Lines for Life was running this hotline before. So our hotline's been up and running, and so this presentation is just kind of reminding everyone like who we are as an organization and what we've seen on the hotline so far. So hopefully this will be helpful. And by the end of the presentation, you know, we can maybe answer any questions you have.
Just one more logistical question related to the current phone number. Did you take over the phone number that Lines for Life was using? Is it a new phone number? Is it part of is it connected with the 988 system? Just kind of, if you have any of that information, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I'll briefly answer that. So we have a new phone number, but the old phone number routes to our new line. So folks can still use that old phone number if they have the old palm cards or something like that. But I will make sure that we have the phone number and the website. If somebody can just plug it into the chat here, just so everyone has that. And we are not directly connected with the 988 program. We will transfer crisis calls to 988, but yeah, we're kind of a separate entity fielding like those citations that folks get for possessing those small quantities of hard drugs. When a police officer gives a citation, they're instructed to call our helpline.
Right, and that's kind of the thing I was wanting to also some point drive to, and I guess we'll have a fuller conversation in the future. But as you know, the Oregon legislature just passed House Bill 4002 that made significant changes to kind of ballot measure 110 in terms of criminalization and how law enforcement is involved now. And one of the things that they came up with is kind of a interim step or kind of a step is this new deflection program. And I don't know if you guys are hearing about that or going to have involvement in that, but 26 counties have signed on to like being involved with deflection programs where folks would be able to get essentially like an opportunity to enter into services rather than going into jail. And so I just want to kind of tee that up as a possibility for where this phone line could be of service to the behavioral health resource networks in every county who may or may not be providing some of these services. So I wanted to just tee that up a little bit. And then that's the end of my comment. So the last thing I'll say is that House Bill 4002 did not affect the phone line, but it did affect, and September 1st, criminalization will go back into effect for these small amounts of drugs. And so I'm interested in kind of how that'll play for your services.
And I think we'll be able to maybe speak to that at the very end, but thanks for briefing it, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, back over to you.
Yeah, no worries. No, I appreciate the interest and yeah, look forward to OHA, y'all from OHA helping out in answering that. So I will give it back to Kira to just continue with the slide.
Yeah, sure. This one's just a brief slide, kind of telling you all a little bit more about us as an organization. So just to get a sense of our vision for the work we do, which is healthy people thriving in equitable and just communities. So using our core values of health and racial equity, leading with heart, collaboration, and innovation, we operate 3 substance use helplines in addition to the Oregon Helpline, as well as 2 problem gambling helplines and many other behavioral health and substance use projects. So with that, I will pass it over to my colleague, Kit, and she'll introduce the new brand for the helpline.
Thanks, Kara. You can go to the next slide. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our thoughts behind the branding. We want to really build awareness and demand for the Hope Line. We want people to know that they can reach us, easily 24/7, and we want people to have an emotional connection with the Hope Line so they really feel like we are a trusted resource. So we're hopeful that that's what you'll see in the new brand. And I just want to mention that it might not be reflected across like all of the touch points that people will encounter right away, because it takes a little bit of time to roll these things out in terms of like print materials and the website and phone scripts, but we are working very hard to get all of that on the same page right now. You can go to the next slide. So as we've said, the new brand name is the Oregon Hope Line, with the tagline, "Your connection to recovery." We tried to bring in this sort of feeling of the landscape of Oregon with these greens and more grounded colors, but then added a little bit of bright color for hope. And I'm gonna let you just sit with it a second so you can take a look at it. You can see that we show like the different variations in the logo here. You'll see it against like what it would look like against a light color, what it would look like against a dark color, what it would look like as a single color, or as like an all white version, which you might also see against a dark color. And I think we can go ahead and move to the next section.
So I'll take over a little bit, just reminding folks what we do. So we're the Oregon Helpline, but we've been in effect for several years now. And like I said, HRA has taken over the helpline starting on December 8th. And so our hotline has been running since then. It's a free and confidential statewide resource. Like I said, the hotline is our primary focus is to assist those who have those Measure 110 citations and getting them waived. But also we serve and we've gotten plenty of calls from folks who are just seeking like drug and alcohol treatment services throughout the state. And what's unique about our hotline is that we are staffed 24/7 by these highly trained screening and information specialists who happen to also be peer support specialists. So these are folks who know what it's like to navigate some of these complex health systems and really care and can connect with the callers that we're serving. So the Hopeline, like I said, is a resource for anyone in Oregon, whether they're seeking a waiver for their Class C screenings, or if they're just looking for treatment in general. And we are committed to building trust with community members and burn members, law enforcement, as we continue to develop and expand our offerings to Oregon residents and as this treatment landscape changes as well. I noticed that there was something in the chat, and I just want to acknowledge, and somebody has their hand up, and so I am kind of gauging, like, should we, I would really like to be able to have a space after the presentation, I deeply care about your questions and want to get those answered, but Kristen, is that okay if we just push through the presentation, or would you like me to pause?
Keisha, can we get to your questions at the end? Because I think they're good questions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely am excited to dialogue with y'all, but want to be able to present. So yeah, go ahead and go to the next slide. So some of the successes that we've seen over the past 4 months is an increased call volume. So under our leadership, the helpline has experienced a 3-fold increase in call volume compared to previous periods. So 3 times as many folks have heard about or at least are contacting our helpline. So that's really exciting. And we're also collaborating with behavioral health resource networks to ensure that the referrals that we're giving are accurate, and the treatment services, the addresses, the phone numbers are, and so we're enhancing our ability to serve Oregon communities efficiently. And some of the challenges that we faced is kind of like we were talking about before, is the evolving treatment landscape. So the rollback of Measure 110 and recriminalization has definitely put some, kind of big questions and kind of wondering about what the future holds, but also open to kind of addressing these challenges, with you all as that continues. So we can go to the next slide. And here's just a snapshot of some of the data from the last 4 months. So over the entire period that we've begun taking this lines until March 31st, we have received 375 interactions, so 369 calls and 6 people chatting. And out of those calls, 137 people chose to access referrals for substance use treatment services that we would then provide them referrals over the phone and send them an email with all of the providers' information. And out of all those calls, 55 people were able to have their citations waived through our screening. And just as a comparative note, over the last few years, from February 2021 to November 2023, the hotline had seen 499 calls. And so over only the last 4 months, we've received almost as many as 375. So that's really exciting, and that's been really motivating for us as well. We can go to the next slide. And then this has been a recent development, but we just recently initiated the technology to be able to allow our callers to take an optional feedback survey at the end of the call. And so only 2 of those callers have chose to complete the hotline feedback survey since March 29th when we launched that. But out of that, we've gotten really positive feedback, as you can see here. We can go on to the next slide. And I'll hand this over to Casey to share some of our hiring updates and what our future looks like.
Hi. So, myself and Sarah were both hired recently. I am the Community Outreach and Engagement Associate, and I am located in Eastern Oregon. So project manager, Sarah, and then we have a contact center supervisor that just began. All screening and information specialists have all undergone the CRM PSS training for the state of Oregon. And we recently hired 4 new call taker positions. You go to the next slide. So for web and tech, their next steps is to apply the new name and the branding to the existing microsite and establish and reinforce the Hope Line's new look and feel. Deliver consistent and quality service, updated call flow with new name, professionally recorded prompts, and dedicated Spanish queue. They're going to build out comprehensive full service website for the Hope Line with resources and interactive tools and add live SMS text messaging functionality. For the data, their next step is the robust data dashboard has been developed and can provide stakeholders and funders insight into the Hope Line's impact and results. And they will continue to improve accuracy and expand our referral database for Oregon consumers. Stakeholder engagement, we will be continuing to make introductions with burn partners and engaging with peer mentors. We are going to be engaging in community events related to substance use and recovery. And we are making plans and strategizing outreach for priority populations. For marketing, we are developing a branded palm card and exploring the potential for other print materials. And we will develop content for digital ads and brand intro videos. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So I know, Keisha, you had asked some questions in the chat. Are you able to come off mute, or do you want me to read them to HRIA answer? I'm happy to read them aloud so that they can have an opportunity. So you asked, scrolling, Oregon is a unique state. Have there been any readjustments specific to take into account Oregon and Oregon's needs? Editorializing a little.
Sure.
Hi again, everyone. So yes, as I think it was Sarah, as our team has mentioned, we operate helplines across multiple different states, and every state and community is unique. And so when we came to Oregon, we worked really closely with OHA and other stakeholders to adjust kind of what we offer to Oregon specifically. Some of that included, like Casey was mentioning, our staff getting certified as peer support specialists, which allowed us also to become really connected with the community through the folks who are doing those trainings. We've been connecting with the Burns, as Casey mentioned, and have really done a lot of research and have been hiring more staff who live in Oregon and bring that deep expertise and experience as well.
Thanks, Jen. And I know that hopefully that kind of answered your question to Keisha about the connection to various communities in Oregon. And finally, you asked if all the employees and staff are in Oregon. And I know Kathy responded in the chat. They are not. Some are, but not all of them are.
Yeah, me and Casey live in Oregon. I live in the Portland area and Casey lives in Pendleton. We're longtime residents and very connected to our communities. And we are also taking pretty active approaches with our staff to be able to, so like we're connecting with them on a weekly basis to ensure that news articles are reviewed and discussed, and so that folks are, you know, keeping up to date with all the different legislative changes and also some of the, you know, the challenges and the successes that are going on within the state. So we're constantly engaging in like staff meetings and creating, you know, trainings, you know, Oregon specific trainings to ensure that the folks who don't live in Oregon can have like a deeper understanding as possible.
Thanks, Sarah. I think I'm going to switch to Sabrina. I see your hand up.
Thank you, Kristen. I just want to say, I believe because originally when they presented, there was it's nationwide, right? It's a nationwide type of program, but now that it seems like they've scaled it and focused it to Oregon, and it kind of reflects in the new positions that they have from Portland with Sarah and Casey's position. If I'm speaking along the right lines, I'm just trying to remember. But I had a couple of questions, and I'm not sure if you guys can answer these, or maybe Kristen or somebody can jump in. So what will happen to the hotline for Measure 110 now that we have House Bill 4002? Will you guys also be making referrals to them, or have we gone that far down the path to think what that looks like big picture? And because since we're not doing e-violations anymore, correct? So I'm kind of confused as just a normal community member to what that's going to look like and how we're going to incorporate the phone line through that new system, and how we're going to get contacts and engagement and referrals with the House bill.
Sure, I can answer a part of that to the extent that I know, and I think this kind of touched on some of the questions Ron was asking earlier as well. So 4002 did repeal the Class E violations, replace them with a new type of misdemeanor, as well as the option to create that referral or deflection pathway. Thanks, Ron. To other services, kind of depending on the county. So what will change in September when that goes into effect is the hotline. This specific hotline will no longer be taking callers who received a Class C citation, since those won't exist. However, the hotline will still be available to refer callers to Burns and services within the community. This hotline, the Measure 110 hotline, is still mandated by statute. So we still have it in existence, and kind of parallel to the alcohol and drug hotline and 988. It is just one more hotline that we are mandated to have. And I think conversations are kind of ongoing in terms of how it can fit into deflection process and be a resource going forward. Those conversations haven't really landed anywhere quite yet because they're just starting.
Okay, I have another question on top of that one. So who's going to be funding that then? Will it still be coming out of Measure 110 funding, or it's funded out of Measure 110 right now, correct? And so with the deflection process, if it's not going to be serving people for e-violations, who will then it serve? Or who will the funding come from at that point? I mean,
Measure 110 will continue to fund this hotline per the statute. It will continue to serve everybody. Just, you won't it won't have that Class E violation component. But I think if maybe we can pull up the breakdown of callers slide again. I think looking at that, you can see that actually the majority of callers who called the hotline weren't necessarily Class E violation callers. They were other people who just wanted services or had questions or wanted to see where care was in their community. So I think the bulk of those people will probably still want to continue to call, receive services, and the hotline will be available for those callers and be funded out of Measure 110. Thanks, Carly. Annalise, I know you asked the question in the chat, your hand's up, so.
Yeah, first, I have a question for HRIA, in line with the chat. I was asking how this is different from another line. Kristen just mentioned a series. So my question is, are you all collaborating with the existing lines to ensure that you have the same resources and are not duplicating services?
I think there's more work that can be done around collaboration. I think the statute is a bit duplicative.
So then my follow-up questions are for OHA. So is this, and this is kind of just a little bit, going a little deeper than Sabrina went, is this an OHA kind of administrative role, or is this an OAC role? The phone line.
This is an OHA administrative role.
Yes.
Okay, and then my final comment, and for the contractors who probably have no idea who I am, I'm the director of the Alcohol and Drug Policy Commission in the state, and our job is to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of services. And so this is an area where there's, quite frankly, clear duplication. And I'll just say it's concerning to me. I think it's wonderful for us as a state to take a no wrong door approach. I think that would be great if on the back end, we were assuring ourselves that people were accessing the same resources. I'm afraid that we have just built a neighborhood of different houses, and depending on what line you call or what app you use, you get different information. So I hope we can do a better job with that in the future.
I agree with you. This is Kathy Cervantes. I'm the contract administrator for HRIA, and I would love to get together with you, Annalise, and talk about that a lot more, about getting this collaboration. It's been a long road trying to get them up and going, and so I would like to have further discussion on that collaboration.
Happy to.
I see Ron and Caroline and Sabrina, your hands. I just want to make sure we answered Meredith's question in the chat, and how this differs from 988. This hotline is non-emergent line. 988 is an emergent line. So if a caller calls this hotline and needs acute services, they can transfer or redirect the caller to 988, but this is more informational. It is for screenings. And so it has a different kind of function and urgency than 988.
Thank you.
Answers that question. Yeah, you're welcome.
It did, thank you.
Good, okay. Ron.
Thank you. I think you may have partially answered my question, but I was just sitting here looking at the different numbers. The 988 is a crisis line, then Lines for Life has a alcohol and drug hotline. Then we've got Measure 110 citation line. It's going to be a referral line or our own hotline. And I want to just echo what Annalise was saying, is that if folks are calling different numbers and getting different information, we are duplicating efforts, and it's not clear. I'm not clear what would happen if I called either number past September 1st. I do see that this number 833-975-0505, is that the new number?
That is, and the old numbers do feed into that. So if you call one of the old numbers, it does redirect into this.
Okay. And that number is being publicized widely, and because this is the first time I've seen it just now when I Googled it. It's on all the law enforcement has it. Everybody's got it. It's on citation numbers currently through September.
The citations never had a number printed on them, but law enforcement have been made aware, and we have publicized this through media, through press releases, through our website, and through HRIA's materials.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, so I don't want to, go too far down that road. I was just wanted to echo what Annalise was saying, because system simplification and kind of breaking down silos is something that we've been talking about repeatedly for a couple of years, and I just want to ensure that as we move forward that we're not creating more silos and duplication.
Thanks, Ron. Caroline, I think you were next.
Yep, okay. I guarantee you, if I'm confused, everyone else is going to be confused in this whole state. So I honestly thought, I don't know what I thought now, after hearing all this. I do know that Lines for Life was contracted with Measure 110 funds to take on this task of the decriminalization in terms of having access, in terms of, I don't know, someone was supposed to promote and let them know you got picked up with a charge. You had a Lines for Life to call. Then we did not renew their contract. I thought we renewed it with this new group. I probably have their letters wrong, HR 1A. I thought they were the new folks taking on Lines for Life
Yes.
role. Okay,
Yeah,
so
they
we're
are.
correct there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I understand, in terms of the fact that this is just since January, the data that they're presenting. And I know it's not their fault in terms of, I think, putting them through all this questioning. But I think it's because we're confused, or at least I am confused. And the same thing that Ron and Annalise was saying, we dialed 911 because we know that that's emergency. We dialed 211, supposedly we need other services, which doesn't quite work well in our rural community because our people will call a local number. They're not going to go with a, I guess, more of a universal type of line, because they prefer to talk to someone locally. They don't want to talk to someone who doesn't understand. So I do know in our community, they tend to call locally. And then we threw in 988, which isn't quite up and running, especially in rural communities. They're still finding it out. And now we have this other new hotline or to call. I'm just saying, I'm not looking for an answer. All I'm saying is the fact that if I'm confused, I guarantee you that a lot of people who is not engaged with so many meetings and, having the privilege, of being on these committees. And if I'm confused, the general population is going to be more confused. So I don't know if we need to put some type of a plan and how we're going to clarify why we have all these numbers now. I think people, and I know this happens in our community, if our people can't get their needs met, they go to ER. And we know in terms of costs, it costs more money to go to emergency. If they can't get something locally, they just bypass everything. So I guarantee you, if people don't know all these numbers, they're gonna start calling 911 because that's a familiar number. So I'm not looking for a response. I'm just making a statement to try to understand all this because I thought I was on board in the beginning. Now I'm not on board. I'm confused. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. I think that's a good observation. Sabrina.
Yeah, and my question is more for Kathy. When Annalise made a statement or some comments regarding the phone line and duplication of services, Kathy said that she was interested in speaking with Annalise and getting her feedback. I was wondering who else would be open or available or could be at that table to also offer input
We'll
in that
look into
conversation.
that. I want to make sure that it's all inclusive in there. And you're right, Caroline, it's very confusing out there because there are so many different numbers and it's hard to define between a resource line and a crisis line and, you know, all of these phone lines. And I guess due diligence should have been done more on looking at all of these different lines to see that we're not duplicating it. I know that Lines for Life is still a contractor with OHA. They're still doing work for their, for the Measure 110 phone line, they didn't apply for continuing on that. And HRIA did, and they won the award on that. So they're a great resource line. They're a great company to work with. But yes, you're right, Sabrina, we need to be inclusive in who we're going to have at the table for these discussions, because there's a lot of discussions, not just with the duplicate lines, but where do we go after September 1st? And so those discussions haven't happened yet.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Yeah, and for me, it's the intention behind those conversations, right? Why we're having them, what we're advocating for in that change. But my last thing was for actually, is it HRIA? I'm trying to look for the acronym somewhere and I can't see it anyways. But anyways, I was interested in one last thing and I'll stop asking questions is how has the police involvement? You guys said that you've been making some more connections with the police. And I know prior till now, we haven't had a lot of buy-in from the police as a Measure 110 and or the hotline. And so I was wondering what that looked like on your guys' end, if you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
I know that we've had some temporary palm cards sent out to the Portland Police Bureau. Jen, I don't know if you have any, or Sarah, if you've had any more discussions or meetings with them. I know that HRIA has reached out into some of the burn communities and have met with them and gotten their questions and stuff. So maybe Sarah has more information.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I'm addressing your question. Can you please repeat it? I just want to make sure I'm hitting all the right points.
Yeah, it was how is the police involvement now? Because, and I just stated prior to now, there hasn't been a lot of police involvement and or for whatever reason. And so you guys did say in your slides that you've been having some police contact. And I was wondering what that looked like, if you guys are able to share that information.
A few of the different police departments and police, like the Portland Police Bureau and Hillsborough Police Department. I think a couple other ones have reached out to us asking for those palm cards, and we've been able to send them so that they're able to give those palm cards out as they hand out the citations. And like you saw in the data, we've received 55 calls from folks who received citations. So they are still getting referred to our hotline and they still are able to get their citations waived through September 1st. Did that answer your question, or is there another part that I can answer?
I think that's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. I think before moving on to Sam, I see your hand. I just want to remind everybody that when we're talking about duplicative lines, this hotline is legislatively mandated. So OHA is following a statutory function, a legislative director in operating and maintaining and funding this hotline. I will also just note that if we want to have further discussion about this, we can set time up in a future public meeting, but that any kind of conversations around this will be in a public space. Sam, I see you lowered your hand. So sorry. Do you have anything else to add or?
No, that was part of it. And also just even during legislative session, there was a real distinction between what is a mental health line, what is a SED line. And I think we probably collectively feel like, we want a whole person health line, and the way funding streams have happened and some of our mandates, they're not quite as clear. I will say that in the Portland area, they have been doing a 90-day sprint. We're out there on the second one around responding to individuals that are experiencing overdose and in need of supports. And I do know they report out all the M110 citations that they've been handing out. And I know that the Burn partners have been participating and were asked to join. So there is partnership in that area that seems more improved than previously. And then lastly, I would say, I do echo sort of the pieces of all the phone lines, because many people call their county crisis line, right? So even with 988, the county crisis line is often used between providers, between individuals that feel like that's the fastest way to get into a service if they need something right away. Particularly if they've worked with the community mental health program at that time, or a particular provider that they were referred to. So I do think it's a larger conversation that definitely includes the OAC, and then just overall kind of how do we look at our phone lines, and are they distinct, where like there has to be the mental health one and the SED one, or is it different? And then lastly, I would just say with deflection, at least in the initial meetings, I know the hope was that the 110 hotline would be the resource for law enforcement in the moment, to have a phone and be able to say to the person, let's call the 110 hotline and get that screening and referral done in the moment. And that would actually put them in the deflection process. So that's the hope as well. And we anticipated that we would see more numbers as that really begins to happen. So thank you.
Thanks, Sam. And Ron.
No, you said pretty much that last part about the folks being able to connect through the deflection program to the hotline, to a burn provider, as the future of kind of how this would work, is exactly right. And the other part would be just to kind of talk through a little bit about the pilot project that's happening with the Portland Police currently. The way it's being operated is that burn providers are gathering in one spot with in a facility downtown with law enforcement. Law enforcement goes out there interacting and connecting with folks who are either using or possession, where they would issue a citation. Instead of just issuing a citation and letting the person go, they're actually having a burn peer or someone from one of the organizations come to their location and interact with the person on the spot to provide them with options. And the numbers that we've seen from that in the pilot projects have been tremendous in terms of connecting people to services. And that's kind of a model, being able to connect people directly to services from the law enforcement interaction, and then being able to follow those people, connect them with a peer, and then be able to follow those people through the continuum of services with the support that they need in order to get the care and the help that they want.
Thanks, Ron. I want to make sure I'm answering the questions that I see in the chat. So Ron, you asked if alcohol funds the Lines for Life alcohol and drug hotline, and the answer to that is yes, but not with Measure 110 funds. It's a different
Right. That was my
yeah.
point. Is it's a second stream that's funding the alcohol and drug line.
Yeah.
Second funding stream. So it's two funding streams that's duplicating the effort.
Yes. Yes. Just wanted to make sure we are being thorough. Linda asked if we had reached out directly to police departments. I think HRA answered that question. Keisha asked if staffing from out of state is affecting the Oregon workforce. I'm not sure if we're seeing that effect. I know anecdotally, our burn partners are reporting having a really hard time hiring peers and finding qualified staff or trained staff. So I would hypothesize that maybe hiring folks from out of state would mean less competition for people who are performing in-person direct services in Oregon. But that's just speculative. I'm not sure. We put the phone number and website in the chat for everybody. And Meredith, you asked the question if the 833 number works for most phones. I believe it does, but I'm not sure if HRI or you can elaborate on that.
Is there any way to track that? Because a lot of phones get blocked, especially the small burner phones. Our providers will block those numbers.
We've tested and our number does seem to work for everyone, and we haven't had any reports of that issue.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, what did you say, Sarah?
I was just gonna say the same thing that Jen did.
Okay, thank you.
I want to acknowledge too, like, that the amount of passion in this room, like, I genuinely love it. Like, as a person who lives in Oregon, like, I love collaborating and working with everyone here because, like, there's so much passion and love and care for the different communities in Oregon. I think it reflects that there's such a deep need, and we're excited to continue to meet those needs. We've gotten really, really great positive feedback for our services, but it's totally understandable and, like, welcome that the folks in this room would have questions and concerns because you care about the people who are struggling with substance use in this community. And so we absolutely love that and welcome it, and we're excited to continue working with you all.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, we're appreciative of all of your efforts as well. I think that Oregon Helpline website is new, so probably it's going to take a little minute for Google to optimize its search result and pull it up first. I think it was just relaunched this week, so hopefully it'll start popping up higher in the search results soon. Keisha, I'm not sure about teleworking out of state. I don't think there's a statewide law. I think that might be employer by employer. And so I'm not sure I have a great answer to your question about teleworking.
In terms of Google, we and the website, we are going to continue to further build out the website, which will help with that search engine optimization as well. And we'll be doing some paid Google advertising as well to help with that.
Well, thank you, HRIA, for taking time this afternoon. Really appreciate the work you've done and this information. I think this was a really great conversation. Certainly gave me a lot to think about. So really appreciate all of you for providing this information and offering us some good food for thought. I think this will definitely have you back soon and keep this conversation around duplicative or lines working together, collaboration, especially as we get into more implementation of 4002 in the future. So more to come. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to present.
Thank you all. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Melinda, what do we have next?
It's looking like we have a rules presentation by Christian.
Yes, so I want to note that we have about a half an hour left scheduled for this meeting. So we might not get to the opioid settlement update, unfortunately, and we might not get through this presentation. But if we don't, we will resume discussing it at our next meeting on May 8th. And in the interim, I'd be happy to follow up with anyone who has questions. Just want to preface that. So I wanted to give you all an update on the Chapter 944 rules update. And give you some information about what's happening there. Ooh, can you go back? Slide. There we go. Yes. So we OHA are working to update the Chapter 944 rules. House Bill 2513 requires OHA to adopt new rules for the new or amended rules for the next cycle of grant applications. House Bill 2513 also added a directive to OHA to create a process to appeal denials of grant funding. The rules also spell out general criteria and requirements for the burns and for grants and funding. And they spell out some collection and reporting of information for Secretary of State audits. And we are working on updating these rules now because they will support the next application process for grants starting in July 2025. I know that sounds like it's a long way off, but if we kind of reverse engineer everything that has to happen, this is kind of the first step before we can get to writing the next grant application. The next slide. As a reminder, House Bill 2513 did change the program authority. So previously, and a lot of you were here the first time the rules were written, the OAC set administrative rules and the requirements for funding. Under House Bill 2513, which became effective this year, OHA is responsible for setting the administrative rules. However, OHA must convene a rule advisory committee or a RAC in which the majority of the committee members are OAC members, meaning the council will have opportunity to weigh in and provide a lot of input in the rule. Also in 2513, made some changes to some of the funding procedures. Previously, the law set aside 4% of the Drug Treatment and Recovery Services Fund for administrative funds. Now there is no limit, but the OAC did set aside, I believe, $15 million last year for administrative costs. Previously, the council established the grant application process under House Bill 2513. OHA now sets the grant application process. However, the OAC, meaning you all, will still be responsible for selecting the final grantees that receive funding in 2025. There has been no change to that. This is a little bit more background information on what has changed under 2513. The council will continue to be party to the grant agreements, have the sole authority to terminate grant agreements. The new kind of authorities are dealing with the appeal of a denial of a grant application, which is a new process that OHA has to create. And OHA also has to establish a burn evaluation process, which was not previously a thing. Slide. So our main timeline goals are to make new temporary rules effective at the beginning of June. That kind of starts a calendar of 180 days to make permanent rules by the end of November. And I think to talk a little bit more about that process, the next slide, is we are joined by our rules coordinators for behavioral health, Juan and Colleen, who can briefly walk you through this candy cane lane kind of board game of the process for the rules and highlight all of the points of community engagement and OAC engagement along the way.
Hi, everyone. My name is Juan Hijimes, and I'm the Senior Rules Coordinator for Behavioral Health Division. And then I coordinate the work for chapters 309, 944, which is this one, and then 415. So what we're looking here today is basically our attempt to standardize the process across all of our rules. At the top left-hand corner, the start page, we basically start looking with connecting with the rules coordinator, so behavioral health rules coordinator. But what we're looking at doing now is engaging our community more to ensure that the rules that we are being developed by OHA are centered in community approach, meaning that we want community feedback to guide us in developing these rules. We then kind of move on the board, which again, we see manager approves notice. And then finally, we get another little community engagement, which you'll see as rule-related community engagement. This is more of a formal process in which we invite the community. Both the council members will have a very immediate role in this process as we develop the rules, but also those who are impacted by the rules. And maybe we'll reach out to all of you asking, do you know anyone whose these rules might impact their lives? And what we want is feedback. We get a lot of businesses, but we also cannot forget about those who are going to be needing to follow these rules and work within those rules itself. The Candyland board game continues is we have a lot of intricate points where we will be connecting with both subject matter experts, community experts, but also individuals who will be working with the rules themselves. We still do follow the formal Rules Advisory Committee or a RAC meeting, which you'll see in the first purple square. That is also another formal process. So not only have we done community engagement twice, but we still have another shot at doing community engagement in a more formal way, which many of you will probably be invited to participate in the Rules Advisory Committee, where we once again present the rules that have been developed with the community and the council, and then we go again to make sure that we get those completely filed. Once we go through that piece, we see the first light blue square in the middle section and the third row is we file the notice. The notice opens up a public comment hearing itself, which again, we provide another period of time for the community, on all Oregonians to provide input on what was developed during our RAC, which was enforced by our community engagement, and we have a public hearing, which would be our second purple square there. That is another public meeting in which we invite everyone to provide comment. Once you provide comment, OHA decides what is going to be integrated into the final rule process. We review the comments, we ensure that we align everything, and then we file the permanent rule, which is the bottom light blue square. Once that rule is filed, it becomes law, and then we move it on to the agency. The job does not end there because we still now need to inform all of the people who were involved in the process, but also now it's time to implement. For this process, for the RFGA, that means that effective once the rule gets filed and processed, it moves on to implementation. And that's kind of our quick synopsis of where the rule process goes. So just a quick recap is we are involving the community early on. We're inviting the council member early on. We still have a formal process of a Rules Advisory Committee of RAC. We have our public hearing, and then we file the rule permanently. And I see a hand up, Ron?
Yeah, so I might have misheard you, but on that third row, so file notice, then there's public hearing, public comment period, and then you said, what I heard you say was OHA then decides whether or not to accept the comments and apply them to the rules?
Yes, so public comment and public hearing, OHA has the final say on what gets implemented to ensure that it all files smoothly, completely. Yes.
So there's no RAC, there's no OAC involvement past that point, is what I heard you say. Is what I'm hearing.
After the public comment for the public hearing, everyone's invited. So even OCA members are invited to do that. After that itself, OHA makes the final determination of what needs to be included into the rule. But we do take the comment from the public, community, RAC into consideration in deciding what gets filed.
Okay, so that seems different from our prior process. Is that right, Kristen?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
House Bill 2513 made that change.
Okay, great.
Sabrina?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask really fast. Are you guys going to take weigh heavily into consideration of all of the other people you said you're going to be accepting their input when you're making the final decisions as OHA? Or how is that going to look? Can you share that, or is that public information?
Yeah, so the rule itself basically do get input from everyone involved. So for emergency rules, it's a little bit different because we have to move them much quicker. However, the intent of OHA is that once we make the rules emergency filing, meaning that they become pretty much implemented immediately, we will then start the process engaging everyone involved. That's from the top blue corner of the start square. We engage the community, we involve OCAC council, and then we involve still more people involved throughout the way. So we do ensure that we hear everyone's voices all the way through. This process for a permanent, the one we're showing you right now, it's about 180 days. So it's roughly about 6 months. It is a long process, but we want to ensure that we take the time and effort to ensure that we reach the voices. There's many who are involved very heavily, but we want to reach those voices who may have never participated in a rules advisory committee, but also ensuring that this council still has a voice represented into those rules as well.
Hi, this is Colleen. I just wanted to add too that keep in mind when we did the rack before, for those of you who were part of things kind of the first time around, that 2315 requires the rack to have 51% of the OAC there. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that your guys' voice is throughout, but definitely 100% there, right? Like you guys aren't missing. And then some of the spaces where you see the green boxes on row 2 and row 3, where it says things like review comments, a lot of that review that OHA does from an agency perspective, and all agencies do this, is sometimes we can get opinions that are left and right, high and low, far and wide, right? And we can't always incorporate everything in rule. And so we have to either make compromises, which happens at racks, or when we get public comments, whether written or spoken at, the hearings, we kind of go back as an agency and say, this is what people are wanting, what can we do? And then of course we go to Shannon at DOJ to say, what are we within our statutes, right? People can say, but we need to give everyone cupcakes. Obviously this program isn't going to do things like that, but we might get that comment. So I just want to sway fears that it doesn't mean you guys aren't included. And what is that OHA ownership that will probably feel different. So we are here for you. Rules team is here for you to answer questions as well. Sam.
Thanks. And I want to add in, Kristen, if you're, oh, there you are. Sorry, I can't see all the squares. The other piece that I want to add to the rules process is, at least since supporting the team very recently, I think that there is an intention for the rules to still hold the spirit and heart of Measure 110 and the council intention and the council voice. So I also just wanted to note that the rules themselves should not look, like completely outlandish or off course or, counter to any work you've done, any values that you've set. The rules would still reflect that as well. So hopefully in the process, it'll be familiar and it won't be like you're looking at rules that are brand new and changing things. It should feel fairly steady with some tidying up of things, especially these temp rules. But I just wanted to say that, that commitment is still 100% on the team.
Thanks, Sam. And yeah, you beat me to the punch. I think that was going to be in a slide or two, but I'm glad you mentioned it now. When you do see these, and you should see them soon, you're not going to see major changes like we took out housing as a required component. And we, added in that everybody gets a cupcake. We really kept the service areas and expectations around delivering culturally and linguistically responsive and appropriate services, gender affirming care. Those things are very preserved. A lot of the changes we're making are either in response to House Bill 2513, such as adding in an appeals process to the application, or they are cleaning up references, making sure that definitions align, maybe making them a little bit easier to read, but a lot of that really kind of technical cleanup work. And we'll make sure that we have an opportunity to explain kind of all those changes and our rationale as well. So next slide. Yep. Again, this kind of puts dates to the board game slide you just saw. So we're working to complete the drafting process, kind of using those guideposts that Sam and I just mentioned. We are planning on hosting community engagement sessions in May. I think we're planning on holding about 4 of those. We will also choose our Rules Advisory Committee members in May and file temporary rules. Those temporary rules will then become effective in June and distributed to the tribes for a tribal feedback process. And we will send out Rules Advisory Committee invitations. The RAC will meet in July, and we will file a notice of proposed rulemaking. In August, the rules will get filed in the Oregon Bulletin. We will have a public hearing and incorporate that feedback from the public and the legislature. Then in October, the permanent rules will be filed, and in November, they will become effective. And yes, Sabrina, the RAC will be following House Bill 2513, kind of the process outlined in there. Next slide. I think this is our last one. So this is, again, kind of summarizing everything that I hope we've conveyed, where the council comes in. We have our next scheduled meeting is May 8th. We are hoping to use a portion of that time to have kind of a OAC specific community engagement session and be able to distribute the draft rules prior to that meeting and give you all opportunity for input into the changes at that meeting. That's pending on a few moving parts. So that's our goal is May 8th. But if need be, it might flip to the second meeting in May. Again, per House Bill 2513, 51% of the RAC is going to be composed of OAC members, which means we need at least 6 participants and 2 alternates. We are hoping to convene a RAC of 12 members. However, if there are more of you that really want to participate, there's 7 of you or 8 of you, I think we can expand that overall number. 6 is really kind of the floor and not the cap. So please reach out to Sydney if you are interested in participating in the RAC. That meeting will be in July. But please let us know if you are interested. And then all of you are encouraged to attend the RAC, even if you're not on the RAC in July. Also attend the public meeting that will happen later in the year, and any of the community engagement sessions. We will make sure that we send all of that information to you as they are scheduled. And I think, yes, that is the end. I know this was a lot of information, but it won't be the first time we share it. And happy to answer any additional questions that you all have. Ron.
Right, thank you. That was really good. I really appreciate the detail and the clarity that was involved with that. And thank you, Colleen. It's great to see you again. My question is more general. It's a less. I was thinking about the RFG process overlaid on that calendar you just let that timeline, and I'm wondering, do we have a timeline for the RFGA? I would love to think that we would be complete with our awards before the legislative session opens. That would be my aspiration to cast.
You and me both, Ron. It's good to have aspirations, right?
So,
I think some of that will depend on the volume of applications we receive, right? And the time it takes to process all of those. So
do we have a timeline? Is that something that we're working on now?
Yeah, I was gonna tell you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're good. So our goal is to publish the RFGA in July, which would give folks the opportunity to apply over the summer. That gives OHA a chance to score all of those applications in the early fall. Bring those scores to you all, the council, for approval before the end of the year. I think that does allow us to at least probably send out letters of intent by the time the legislature meets. I think, again, a big unknown factor is just the volume of applications we receive. It's going to take us a little bit longer to get through 1,000 than it would to get through 200. So that's, one of the biggest variables in terms of kind of how long that scoring and then voting process will take. But certainly share your aspirational timeline.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Deb.
I too share Ron's aspirations. So anyway, I had a question in regards to so the OAC council makes up 51% at least. Where does the other 49% come from? Are there like free spots being held for certain organizations or something like that to fill those spots? Or how does that other side get filled?
Colleen, it looks like you're gearing up to unmute.
I am. This is Colleen. That's a good question. If y'all remember when we did this last time, we kind of looked at the rules and said, and this is for everybody, every rulemaking the state does, is, who are the populations impacted by these rules? Is it organizations? Is it small businesses? Are we looking across the state? Are we looking at people who can represent different groups for racial equity purposes? And so that is what we're, both OHA and sometimes with the assistance of our community engagement, that's where we're starting to widen and say, here these rules are coming down. Here's more about the program that between OHA and with your help and the spirit of the original Measure 110 that we do. And what do you think? Who are we missing kind of at the table, so to speak? Who can we invite? And last time we went through this process, I think Ron will remember that we had buckets, we called them. And we said, what are the kind of the populations that these rules in particular will serve? So depending on how we go about writing the rules and the rules themselves, it would have different impact. Since we're adopting all these rules at the same time and going through the process as one rack and not doing adopt this one rule and take it through temp and perm, we'll kind of have a broader reach. So I don't know, Zeb, if that helps. I lost your face on the screen. If that helps answer your question about how we go. There you are. Thanks.
Yeah. No, that definitely helps clarify a little bit. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's never like a reserved spot. What is unique is that you guys have reserved spots. The OAC is a reserved 51% has to be you, and most racks don't have that. The ones that OHA does, we actually tend to say don't have an automatic. No rulemaking is alike. We shouldn't have a standing rack committee. We want to have people. We've got a bill that protects the spirit of that Measure 110 to make sure OAC is always involved in any rulemaking, and this is that integral part.
So I like to volunteer 1% of myself to fill that 1%, if it's possible.
Well, you just reach out to Sydney and let her know.
I'm just kidding.
We'd love to have you, Zeb, any part of you. Sabrina, I see you asked the question in the chat about priority given to organizations who are already funded in the next RFGA. I think I want to preface by saying it's a competitive grant that will be open to everybody. So anyone who is currently funded, wasn't funded, didn't apply, will be encouraged to apply. It's not going to just be limited to organizations that are current grantees. So hoping to get a robust pool of applicants and ultimately, again, you all will be the deciders of who, which applicants are selected.
When is this supposed to happen?
So we're hoping to publish the application in July and give folks kind of the rest of the summer to apply. OHA would kind of review and score the applications in the early fall, and the OAC would vote in the late fall. So November, December-ish. Again, that's kind of just dependent on how many applicants we receive and are able to process.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, if there are no more questions on rules or RFGA, I'll hand it back to Melinda. I know we're gonna, I think, have to punt the opioid settlement update to next time.
Yes.
But had a lot of good conversation today, so thank you.
So we're not gonna be able to get to the opioid settlement updates, but are we gonna be able to get to the OHA updates really fast?
I can cover those in 5 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
So Sydney will be sending out a new, well, Sydney, you give the update. I'm gonna mess it up if I try to talk about Zoom links.
Oh, it's okay. Just we've had some issues with the Zoom link over the past several meetings. Various members have had issues getting in, not showing up in the waiting room, stuff like that. And as a reminder, we've been using the same link since 2021. So we will be setting a new Zoom link for starting in May. So what I would like to ask everyone to do today is please delete the existing meetings if you're able to, because I cannot, other than canceling the series on my end, I cannot remove them for you. So I just wanted to, since we have you all in this place, let you know that that will be happening and that we are prepared to, add in some extra time for the first couple meetings because it is a large technical barrier for everybody with conflicting calendar invites. So wanted to get that on the agenda or on your radar. And then also my other update is we're going to be moving the calendar hold off of Jessica's calendar. So you'll get a new calendar hold for the in-person meeting in May. And it will also, we're finalizing the agenda, so that'll all be attached and we'll be getting the remaining details to all of you shortly. So thank you for your patience in advance.
Thank
So whose name are we gonna have to look for in our email?
It'll just be me.
Oh, okay, good.
I'll
Okay,
send
thank
it. I usually am the one that sends it from Jessica's calendar. But since I'm taking everything off of Jessica's calendar with her rotation, it's a good time to go ahead and update that Zoom link. Normally we just keep the same link and repeat the series, but we need a whole new one because of the issues we've been having. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sydney. I think we have just one more update, and that is that we've published an update to our data dashboard. I'll post that link in the chat, but it now includes Q5 data. So data encompassing July through September 2023. So a full year plus 3 months of Measure 110 data is on that dashboard. We've made a few adjustments to the visuals just to account for that volume, but definitely check it out. It has a lot of good stuff. And that is all. Back to you, Melinda.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'll give you guys 2 minutes back of your day. And I will see you all next week or the week after. Thank you.
Thanks, Melinda.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.